Hi guys, Dr. Mordenkainen here, and this is my review of Mordenkaisen's Tome of Foes. I picked this up at my local game store yesterday and got to read through it last night and wanted to give you guys my thoughts. So first, the TLDR of this is if you are a DM, buy it. You're going to use the heck out of this book. It's got a lot of great resources in it for DMs. Aside from the monsters, which I know is the big thing everyone's probably super excited about in this, the lore and the description it gives of elves, dwarves, duergar, halflings, gnomes, gith, and then information on the blood wars between the demons and the devils is really helpful for world building and encounter building, story hooks and different things. So some really great stuff in here for a DM. If you're a player, you could find this stuff interesting, but I would say this isn't a must-have as a player. But as a DM, definitely it's a must-have. So let's talk about the good things of this book. Really love the lore and the history. I think it really can help DMs with world building and counter building. Gives you a lot more to think about. If we think about Volo's guide and Xanathar's guide to everything, of giving us breadth, this book is starting to give us depth. So there's not so much that's new necessarily, but it's really going into more detail so we can fill things out more in our stories, which I'm really enjoying. So let's just kind of quickly walk through the first few chapters of the book. Chapter 1, it talks about the blood war between the devils and the demons. And so this is really helpful to explain the difference between the two so you can understand it, looking at the lore of the 9 hells versus the abyss, understanding those things. And it really kind of gives you some good food for thought and how to encounter build if your players ever go there. One thing that I liked, so in Out of the Abyss, Loth was surprisingly missing for this, or for me at least, and they do actually address why she's not really mentioned very much in here. I have a hunch we're getting some sort of drow-focused adventure, and that's mostly why she's not included, so she can be kind of the big, grab that's going to get people to buy the drow adventure later on, but that's just a hunch of mine. I have absolutely no proof of that. The next chapter starts talking about some of the common races in D&D. So the next one's on elves, looking through the different lore of the elves, how elves came to be in existence, their deities, their traditions. One of the things I love about it is it talks about what the meditative rest looks like for an elf. So for a very young elf, what meditation means for them versus an older elf. I like that because it gives, again, some more narrative things that you can use when you're encounter building for your elves or trying to make something interesting for your elves to do. The next chapter, we're talking more about the duergar and the dwarves, and again, it's going into their lore, it's going into their history, really helping to understand the culture of what those races are. We'll learn about the gith, and then we also learn about gnomes and halflings. So it's a really interesting way to understand these characters, and one thing I like too is they talk about why would somebody of that race go out and adventure? So why would an elf leave the elven homelands to go and hang out with a bunch of humans or half-orcs or others to adventure and go on these epic quests? I think that was really useful as well. I really love the art in this book. I know that's probably not one of the reasons you're going to go out and buy it, but I wasn't a huge fan of the art in Xanathar's. This book, I'm loving the art. It's very inspiring to me. There's different images in here where I feel like I could build an encounter just off the pictures in here, or I understand the characters more just from the art. So really good home run with the art in this book for Wizards. So I love this. Now, let's talk about the thing most people are going to get this book for. The new monsters. I think it's 140 new monsters in this book. Wizards promised some higher CR monsters in here, and they delivered. I'm seeing some chatter on Twitter that they're feeling like the monsters don't hit as hard. I honestly haven't looked deep down into the stats of all the monsters. I've more looked at the types of monsters and will I be using them in my campaigns. And there's a lot of different types. What I'm liking, again, is we're not seeing necessarily new stuff. We're seeing additions to the things we already have. So we've got our elementals, and now we have more elemental type monsters for higher problem encounters and things. A lot of mechanical monsters in here, which I like. I don't know why I love mechanical monsters. I just do. I think they're just cool. I don't know. I'm going to be using them a lot. Also, there's different kind of scalable monsters in here. So it's the young versus the adult versus the ancient types. I don't think they used that language in the book, but you get those different types of monsters. So if you want a certain feel, but you don't feel like your party is high enough level to get to the higher one, they got you covered in here. So also you get the stats for the demon lords. Again, Loth is missing. I still think Drow Adventure coming, we'll see, which is nice. Those were already published, of course, in Out of the Abyss, so it's a reprint, but if you didn't have Out of the Abyss, well, now you can still throw Orcus or the Demigorgon at your players and have the stats without having to go and buy that adventure just for those stats. So I don't really see anything in here that I would say is too bad, other than maybe that feedback that's starting to come that maybe the monsters don't hit as hard as they should for as high of CRs as they are. But that's something you can really kind of fix at your own table, and it's actually a pretty quick fix. You've got a good skeleton with all of the monsters in here, so it's pretty easy to add to them. I think it would have been nice if we had gotten some more lore on some of the playable races from Volos. I can understand why that wasn't in here. This was focusing more on the core races. So hopefully that's something that's forthcoming in another book, so we can learn more about the Tabaxi culture, the Triton culture, Goliath culture. I really found this in here interesting, and so I would like more of that. So again, final thoughts. If you're a DM, buy it. You're going to use it. If you're a player, it's a good read, especially if you're playing an elf or a dwarf or a halfling or a gnome. Good stuff in here for you. You'll probably enjoy it. And then if you want to run games, some really great monsters in here, especially if you're wanting to run a higher level game. I'm going to be doing a live stream where we're going to talk more about this book, because there's definitely a lot more I could say that I'm trying to edit myself down to make this quick. But anyway, I hope this was helpful. Enjoy this book, and I'll see everybody out there.